Today we're going to be tying up a very effective tube fly called the Super Snaelda. And this is going to be a mixture of the gold and the black one. So you'll see here I have basically a tapered tube here. This is like a shrimp tube you get, I think AM Fly Tan sell them, on top of liner tubing. And I've also added on a junction tube. Usually I wouldn't, but I need to at this stage. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually adding on a little bit of super glue. And I'm just trying to build up a bit of a body here. Okay, so I want the thread to join at the lip of the gold there, just to make sure that it doesn't spin, because I have to put on bucktail and things later on, and if I put it on now and it slips, it's going to be an absolute mess. So I want to make sure that's good and secure now, and then I can start building up back towards the tail. Okay. Just keep on building that up there. Okay, and I want to just stop that thread just before the lip of the junction tubing. Okay, once you've finished that there, you can start adding on some bucktail. Okay, so I have some pre-mixed yellow, orange and black bucktail. Typical Willie gun colours. I have them in a stacker all ready to go here. Okay, have a few wee cut ends that I've managed to turn around the other way. And a lot of people, you'll see people doing full 360 degrees bucktail. I don't do it, I do it in two or three portions usually. Lengthwise, I want it to be about the same length as the body there. Okay, maybe a wee bit longer. So I'm going to just set this out here. And then lightly just put the thread on it. Okay, have a wee look. Okay, so I've covered probably half the body there. Okay, and then just turn it around. Make any adjustments if needs be. And I'm going to get the stacker again. Okay, I'm going to put in some more bucktail. So basically, essentially, your tail is going to be a Willie gun. Okay, but the traditional style tan of it. Okay, then bring it out. And there you're going to have your lined fibres. Okay, and again, as before, I'm just going to make sure that well spread out there. And a few light turns before making any adjustments. Okay. If you feel it's heavier in one area and not as heavy in the other, just slide it around there. That's why you want to tie it in lightly. Okay. And I'm happy enough with that there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the thread, so then I don't splay the bucktail too much. I don't need to apply too much pressure. Okay, and I'm just going to tie that, a few turns of that on. Okay, and that's the main part of the tail, but we're going to also have some feelers. Okay, so now you just get your bucktail and start to just neaten things up. Cut it at an angle if you can, but as always, it's not essential. Okay, you want a cigar shape or a carrot shape, whatever you want to call it, for this kind of fly anyway, so it'll naturally taper by the time we add all the things. I've got a wee bit of slippage here, so I'm just going to push that back into the tube holder. Okay, and then we'll just keep on neating things up here. Okay. Now then, it doesn't matter what order you do this in, but the next thing I'm going to do is add on some feelers. You could add on some flies first. It's up to yourself. Okay, and these feelers are stripped Hackle stalks, and then I have ran a Sharpie mark over them. Saves you a hell of a lot of money compared to buying them in the shop, but I'll put a link in the video where I do these. It's very quick and real good money saving for fly time. Okay, in fact I'm going to wax my thread here before I tie on anything. Okay, and I'm just wanting these spread out well. So it don't have to be, too strict, but you could have 3 on top, 3 on bottom. I'm going to just try and do them all in different ways, pointing. Okay, so and you can see there's a bit of a bend there. Try and have the bend outside. If it's going to bend the other way, don't worry. We can always fix that using the back of our finger anyway. Okay. And just keep on rotating round. So that's your orange, your yellow, your black. And as I do this, I'm adding more and more thread wraps, which is giving me more and more bulk at the end, which is what we want in this fly. Normally you're trying to avoid bulk whenever you're flying hand, but we actually want bulk here because it'll help that profile of a prawn or a shrimp. Okay, so just keep on rotating around here. Okay. Then the last one, so this is 6. If you were doing it, this is a 20mm tube, I think. If you were doing a short tube, you'd obviously only do maybe 4 feelers. But 6 is a nice number when you've got 3 colours. It's basically 2 of each. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is just add on a little bit of super glue to secure all this in. Okay, so I'm just going to bring that thread up towards the rear. And then put on super glue on probably about 2 inches of thread. Okay. And just tie those feelers down so they will go nowhere. Okay. Next I'm going to trim off my excess. Okay. And then again just try and neaten that up and continually build that shape. Okay, then I'm going to add on some flesh. So flesh is up to yourself. I'm probably going to use a little bit of gold crystal flesh and a little bit of pearl mirror flesh. I'm not particular where it goes on the fly. If it goes to the bottom, if it goes on the side, it doesn't really matter to me for this kind of fly. So I'm just going to do a bit at the bottom, a bit at the top, and making sure there's a bit of a mix of the type of flesh. Okay. Then just neaten things off again. And see, there's quite a bit to this fly. Doesn't look like it, but whenever you start to tie it, you realise. Okay. I don't like the flesh being any longer than the bucktail. Okay, because then it might impact its movement. And then you also want to cut the feelers. So I cut the feelers to create a nice shape. You can cut them all the same length if you want, or you can pull them all together and cut it at once, but I like to do a wee bit of difference. Okay, and the last one here is the black. Okay, so that is looking good to me. Totally optional, but I have actually got into it this year. I've seen it be very effective, is adding on some shrimpy eyes. I've seen somebody use shrimpy eyes as a wing for a cascade there earlier in the year, and they've done very well on it. So something I'm going to look into in future. Okay, where you want the eyes is up to yourself. You can put them on the side, top, short, long. I'll let you decide. You can also create a bit of a kink as well to kick them up a little bit, and you can adjust that as well. So if it goes down, you can adjust it on the riverbank, just the way you can adjust the feelers. Okay. You can also buy these Vineyards, do them where they're already a set, so it's a wee bit easier. Okay, you can make them as well. I buy these, but I buy them just as, I think they're called crab eyes in the fly tying world. Okay, they don't really compress well, just being thick plastic, so you will need to use your super glue. and make any readjustments before that. Okay. Just like that there. Okay, so going to get a bit of super glue on there, and then I'll also make a wee adjustment by bending them. Okay, super glue is essentially here. Wax probably wouldn't cut it here. Okay. And again, as I do that, I continue to build up that shape. So it all works well. Okay, just trim off your excess. Okay, and again you can see that shape, and then there might be some lumps and bumps, so try and smooth that out. Okay. That was actually very thick, those eyes, but we'll work it out. Okay, oh, got a bit of spinning. Let's see. Just continue to do wraps here just to blend that shape in, so there's not too much of a drop, because whenever it comes to tan in the body, it will be very difficult if you do. Okay, but again, I'm going to show you a wee tip for that there. Now, as you can see, those eyes, the fish will see those eyes for sure, but just to be sure, I like to actually stick them out a little bit, so you can actually bend them. Okay. You can put a kink in them, whatever way you prefer. But yeah, they're fine, a lot more noticeable now. Okay, and that's your typical Snaelda shape there. I'm just going to work on the body. Okay, and I'm going to do something different here for the body that most people wouldn't do. Just trying to neaten up things here. Okay, so if I can find it here, so I have wool for the body. You could use Chanel, you could use floss, it's entirely up to yourself. You could even use dubbing. Okay, so I'm going to just tie this in underneath. Okay, and just trim off. And then I'm also going to, for the rib, I'm going to use flat braid. So this will take up quite a bit of the body, but it gives you a difference. It basically, sometimes you don't want a black and you don't want a gold, you're undecided. This will give you the black and gold. So it covers both options whenever you're fishing. As the gold Snaelda can be very effective as well. Basically it's gold Willie gun colours. It's a very proven combination. Okay. So before I start the wrap here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some super glue. Okay, I'm probably, in fact the easiest way might be to just super glue the thread. We'll see how we get on here. And that's for the body to prevent the slippage that you'll get with that shape. Okay, you could also, there's a few different ways. Chanel probably wouldn't be impacted as much, but that tackiness will really help. Okay, now I'm going to just bring this down to the lip, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist the wool so it doesn't go too frayed. Okay, and then I'm just going to start building that up. You don't need to twist the wool the way you would for the Francis, because they already have a good shape here built up anyway. Okay, and I touch and turns, just bring that wool down the body, and as I said, that'll adhere to the glue, which will hopefully prevent slippage that we'll see now at this section here. Okay, I got a slippage of this tube. This I would have normally used like the HMH style face, but you wouldn't be able to see the feelers. It'd be okay for time myself, but not good for the video. So I'm trying to just use a tube needle here for demonstration purposes. And it's kind of, yeah, it's a bit frustrating that it's slipping. Okay, so we'll tie that in. Okay, so now we're tying onto the tube, the actual inner tube. Okay, and we're going to use this as a cone head later on. Okay. Just try and neaten up the fluff as we can. Or if you wanted, intensely, you could put some Falco to that. Okay, now for this we're going to use the flat braid, but I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to run some glue, super glue along the inside, just so it adheres well to the wool. Okay, we'll just do one turn at the end. Okay, and then we'll just bring it on down. Okay, so there you go folks, you're getting the best of both worlds there. And then just tie that in. A few turns, secure that in. And that super glue will adhere instantly to that wool, and it'll give a lot more durability as well than rib. Okay, now you could finish the Snaelda like that there, but some people put a hackle after the eyes. I'm going to put the hackle in at the head. Okay, so black hackle, you could use cock hackle or hen hackle. Hen hackle is actually 5 poplar, but I couldn't find hen hackle and I prefer cock hackle anyway. Okay, because for a fly this size I'm going to be tying it in, or going to be fishing it in quite a big bit of water. So I've just broke off the tip there, and then I'm going to bring back and tie in again. I'll give me a secure hold there. You'll see me do this before if you're new, if you're not new to this channel. Then I'm just going to start to tease those fibres back. Okay, and that's your fibres doubled, and then just start winding the stalk and touching turns forward. One more turn, and then just come in and cut in at the of your thread. Okay. Trim off our excess. Any wee rogue fibres. Don't worry if any fibres are going forward, they will be pushed back now anyway whenever the tube goes on. Or sorry, the cone. Just going to double check my cone here before I finish off here. Yeah, so I'm going to use this cone that seems to fit that size well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some super glue again about 2 inches, and this is going to finish off my fly, but it'll also help me secure in the cone. You can see there's a few blobs of super glue there, and then still don't worry about cutting your thread off at this stage. Okay, get your cone and just push that against the fly, and just give it a few seconds and it'll hopefully adhere quite well. And then what we do is we just get our thread and just cut it off. Okay, then we need to just pull the whole fly off, and then cut until you have about 2 mil left of the tube. About there, maybe a wee bit more, but we'll work on this. Okay, and then we just want to burr the top. That's going over the cone. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, once I'm happy with this, I'm going to just put it through that needle, and that needle will ensure that that opening stays open and it doesn't melt over. Okay, and then what we can do is we can put it back on the tube needle to show you how things look. We'll finish it at that, folks. So that is your your gold and black Willie gun Super Snaelda all rounder for all season. Hopefully you found that useful, folks. As always, if you did, check out my other videos coming up on screen now. Hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I'll see you next time. Thanks very much.